Sort of receiving a lawsuit, basically, is is now, I think it was the first or one of a sort of a string, and it wasn't something I'd experienced in previous startups. So you get this very thick kind of envelope with FedEx, where a courier kind of makes you sign for it to prove you've received it, and you're just like, what is this? And open it up, and it's like, legal letterhead with a very
served.
Yeah, you've been served, basically.
Good evening, everybody. We are the Startup Band, and this is episode 2 of Behind the Curtain in association with WeWork. If this is anything like episode 1, we're on to winner tonight.
Don't jinx it. Please don't jinx it. Okay, guys, what is Behind the Curtain? Behind the Curtain is a secret chat show where nobody knows, literally, there's 2 guys, standing behind this curtain here that we're going to bring out up on stage, so nobody knows who they are until we bring them out. We've done a couple of these shows, or we're doing a couple of these shows, I should say, across London, Manchester, and we're going to be bringing it home to Dublin as well.
We need to do that. Bring it home to Dublin.
Absolutely.
Part of the reason why episode 1 was such a huge success was the audience, so big round of applause for everyone coming out tonight. Appreciate it, guys.
Also, we can't do this without sponsors. We've got a couple of sponsors we'd like to thank. We'd like to thank Jobio, Smith & Williamson. Oh, okay, calm down, guys. And we'd also like to thank Oracle NetSuite as well. So thank you so much, guys.
Right. The reason everybody's here is the 2 special guests.
So who's here?
We put some clues out online, and we just need to be honest here, we're terrible at clues. There has to be one guess, one correct guess.
I might be wearing a clue.
Oh.
I might be.
Okay.
Not am, might be.
We revisit that in a bit. But we put some clues out online. The first guest coming out tonight, along with the other guest, started a FinTech company and exited at a $5 billion valuation, and no one got that right.
5 billion. So there's 5 billion right behind this curtain.
Briefly.
Or is there? Right. Also, our second guest is also a FinTech company. And he raised over 100 million for his company. And the reason I said I was wearing a clue is his favorite color just happens to be this.
Any guesses?
Anyone guess who it might be?
Favorite color?
No? Who?
No.
Alex Salmon. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows?
Can we get a huge round of applause from Nish Saperia from Markit?
And, you got it, Tom Blomfield from Monzo. Come on out. Come on out, guys. Up on stage we go. Make yourselves comfortable.
I will. Thank you.
We got you beers?
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming in, by the way.
Cheers, thanks a million.
Thanks for coming in.
Cheers.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Not one right guess. But that's down to us.
They got the colour. They did get the colour. So this is your favourite colour. I'm going to take it, is it?
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Truth be told.
It was one of those ones that we said the card was this colour. Everyone would go, Monzo.
Yeah, that was the clue that we wanted to tease, but everyone would just guess it, so that's no fun whatsoever. So the clue we put out, obviously, is that 100 million raised plus. I mean, we didn't want to do the whole colour thing because it would give it away. And Nish, obviously FinTech founder, and exited the company at a $5 billion valuation, yet no one got it right either. So that's 2 shows in a row when no one got the clues.
I think we need to get better at our clues. We're bad at them.
We need to up the
Definitely
game. Something that we wanted to ask you for a while, Tom, was when we first had our first event in London, you were called Monzo, right?
Yeah.
That was the name of the company.
That's right, yeah.
We met you at Silicon Drink About.
Yeah, a few years ago.
All those years back, yeah. So it was called Monzo then. Obviously people know it was a legal reason why you had to change it from Mondo to Monzo. Can you tell us about that day, in your own words, what that was like? The heartbreak.
Yeah, it was sort of receiving a lawsuit, basically, is now, I think it was the first or one of a sort of a string. And it wasn't something I'd experienced in previous startups. So you get this very thick kind of envelope with FedEx, where a courier kind of makes you sign for it to prove you've received it, and you're just like, what is this? And open it up, and it's like, legal letterhead with a very
served.
Yeah, you've been served, basically. It's a very, very long document, and sort of like, yeah, it's heartbreaking, really panic-inducing.
So what did you do? Like, did you decide, right, I'm going to change one letter? Or did you kind of go through a whole marketing plan?
So our board, we called our board and sort of talked to various board members, and they're very clear. When we first got the challenge, we were tiny. I don't know, a few thousand cards out, a few tens of thousands of people on the waiting list. Yeah. And the board's advice was very clear. It was like, don't bother fighting this. Just change your name. In a year's time, everyone will forget what you were called the Monzo in the first place.
Yeah, well, we didn't.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is I ignored the advice. And I spent about 9 or 10 months fighting and saying, like, really, and in that time we'd moved from 2,000 card holders to probably 60 or 70,000 card holders, and the waiting list had ballooned, and when we finally changed it, it was a much bigger deal.
Who was the other company? Don't say Monzo.
Sadly, the legal agreements mean we can't talk about it.
Okay.
But
there goes that card, yeah. Nish, we introduced you as an exit of a value of 5 billion, right? When you first met your initial co-founders, right, you were told that this company, if you join it, this company could be gone in 6 months' time, okay? Yet you still joined. Why? Because that must have been some pitch. Like, what was it they said to you? Why were you bought into the whole thing?
Combination of things, right? One is, at the time I wasn't doing anything anyway.
Sold.
But really, it was the people, right? So I thought, I met these guys. So I was kind of quite young at the time, right? And I was looking at them and I thought, these are the people who I think are going to shape my career, right? They're very senior, very experienced. And, I just remember Lance, who's still the CEO there, right? And he goes, he wants someone who basically can come in, take everything that's thrown at them, and come back for more, right? And I just thought, well, I think I can try and do that, and I did that, and and not only did I learn a lot from them, but they were also great in terms of feeding me and nurturing me as well, right? So that was, and I figured I'd get that from them, right? So
were they a lot older than you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 25 when the company started, and Lance was about 40, Kevin was about 40, Tom was about 40. So those three guys were definitely a bit older.
That's not too old.
And they were already very
yeah.
Well, I'm 40 now, right? So but they were already very, very established and very experienced in what they had done, right? So I thought, you know what? I mean, my options at the time were actually either that or go and work for a bank. I was looking at Deutsche Bank, Goldman Sachs, and I thought, I'm just not going to work with people like this, based on what they'd already achieved in their career. And the other thing was also, like, I think the market we were in, you could see it was credit derivatives at the time. It's very early stage, and you just felt like there's a lot of opportunity here.
Tom, can we talk a bit about the Crowdcube campaign? The 1 million in 96 seconds famous Crowdcube campaign.
Yeah, that was a huge amount of stress and then a huge amount of fun. So it was something we'd wanted to do from very early on. We'd been very community driven, really, from the early days. We brought people into the office, they tested our cards out, and we wanted to. A lot of them had asked, like, can I actually invest in the company? So we wanted to give our community not just a sense of ownership, but actual ownership. With Crowdcube, we put this kind of pitch together, and use the sort of these waiting list dynamics that tend to tap into the human psyche to make you want it even more. And when it went live on Monday, on the Monday it was supposed to launch, there was so much demand that crashed Crowdcube's site. And that
was the 96-second one, was it?
Yeah. Okay. So that and we didn't raise anything in 96 seconds on the Monday because it crashed so hard. We took Crowdcube's servers offline for 4 hours. But the impact of that was to make everyone go, holy crap, this deal must be so hot, there's so much demand. And the press picked up that meltdown so that when it relaunched on the Thursday,
it
just went nuts.
Was that planned?
Absolutely not.
Some people think that's planned.
You look at the sort of chat logs in our internal Slack. It was horrendous. People had taken time off work and were trying to invest, and they were worried it had sold out or hadn't it sold out. And everyone was on the site clicking refresh, which was putting more load on the server. But no, I mean, in retrospect, it seems like a brilliant marketing campaign, but it was chaotic and it was a screw up. But it just happened to be a screw up that turned into even more of a kind of PR story.
Yeah.
Was that the same campaign, or was it a separate one where you got 6,000 investors on board, but you would have got 41,000?
That was the next campaign.
That was the next campaign. So two of them crashed.
No, the second one didn't crash. We made people pre-register and then selected them by ballot.
Okay.
And then once you had the ballot, we drip fed them through like 500 by 500 so they didn't crash the servers.
Yeah.
The first time around, we didn't know, we just pushed everyone through and said first come, first served. And the problem is it's like 10,000 people trying to get through a very small door at once.
You're a bigger man than I am. I would have taken credit for that publicity stunt. Like, I planned every bit of that.
I think some of Crowdcube's competitors actually afterwards went out pitching to kind of startups and said, we can also crash a website. When you do it, you'll get the same.
Nish, back to your company, right? Markit at the time. The growth you guys went through was huge because when you first joined, there was 7 people. And over the space of, I think it was 9 years before you exited, you grew to, I think it was a number of, was it 3,500?
2,500, 3,000. Yeah,
3,000.
Like
over the space of what, 9 years?
Yeah.
Like that's like 300, 350 people a year. Like how did you guys cope with that type of growth? Because that's like how many do you have employed at the moment?
300.
300. And you were taking on like 300, 350
We
a
were,
year.
yes. We weren't hiring that many people each year.
Okay.
So one of the things that Markit had was, I don't know how many people know Markit here, but in the early days, we sold 75% of the company to 13 banks in Wall Street. And there was a reason for that, which I won't go into too much, but so we had deep relationships with a lot of the banks in Wall Street, and what that allowed for was that the ability to basically take products, develop our own, and sell into those banks, and also all the hedge funds and all those other companies that were our clients, but especially also find other companies that were also building products which maybe which started to prove themselves, but hadn't actually really established themselves in the way that they could have. So we had the distribution, and so we acquired, I don't even know how many companies we acquired over the time I was there, but it was good, probably like at least 4 or 5.
That you acquired?
That we acquired, yes. But there's obviously a lot of hiring as well, and there was definitely a lot of challenges with that, right? I mean, like, I remember when we opened up the new office in New York, so me and Kevin Gould went out there, and we were basically a tiny little corner office, and we were in financial services at the time. This was 2005, and we were basically competing with the banks and the hedge funds to recruit talent, right? And honestly, I mean, the number of times we kind of had to settle for second-tier talent and take a punt on it was, too much, more than what we would have wanted. But at the same time, I think also what helped us was our relationships and our growth did, in the industry at least, no one outside the industry knew who we were. Even up until the day we IPO'd, no one knew who we were. Yeah. But our relationships with the industry also attracted us, made us attractive to people who were working in the banks, right? So we actually recruited a lot of senior people from the banks.
Was this like pre.com boom that you started, or
no?
Just
so
after
the
that?
company was founded 1st of January 2003. So it's just after that, actually, right?
Brutal time to start a tech company.
It was. But luckily, we were also not looking for funding from the traditional.
Did you ever raise money?
Yeah, we did from Wall Street.
Oh, sorry,
right?
from Wall Street.
Exactly,
sorry.
right. So initially, the very seed funding came from a bank called TD Securities, which is a Canadian bank where Lance was from, and was already very established. So he had the network, and he had the profile to have to raise money. But then we got funding from 13 banks. Wow. 12 months after incorporating.
The weird thing is back in sort of 2004 or 5, it was when I did my first startup. It wasn't a fashionable thing to do. Going to work for Deutsche Bank as a bond trader was like the thing all the MBAs wanted to do because it's where the big money was. And saying you're going to work at a startup was kind of like saying, I'm going to be unemployed.
Well, you were told this could be closed in 6 months' time.
Yeah.
Why did they think that at the time?
Why did they think that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we had no revenue.
Okay.
We had no contracts.
Number one. That's
we hadn't even incorporated at the time. At the time when
not unreasonable.
Yes.
So was it just an idea?
It was an idea, and there was a few people working on it. And I technically my first contract was actually with TD Securities, the guys who seed funded the business.
Yeah.
And because we were basically, and it was the credit pricing unit within TD Securities. So we hadn't even actually spun out yet, but I think I was willing to take a punt.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Tom, we chatted. There was obviously big news during the week. Can we get your thoughts on Revolut's newfound unicorn status?
I think it's a phenomenal result for them. They worked incredibly hard, and it's really nice to see European companies getting to that level. For so long, this was a West Coast story, and to see it now, the races. N26 raises 160 million, Revolut raises 250 or whatever it was at 1.4 billion value. We're not raising money right now, but we will at some point, and we'll be in that ballpark. But
is that because Crowdcube is down, or?
We'll see. But it's really amazing to see that like competitive dynamic playing out in Europe. That just hasn't really happened before. It's always been a West Coast thing more than anything.
Yeah.
When it comes to bank accounts, right? A lot of bank accounts that are open, I know when we had problems with business bank accounts in the past, right? And this wasn't like a challenger bank or anything, that was your traditional bank. And we were having a few problems with them, but it was such a headache, right? To kind of go, oh, here, affect this, we're getting out of here, we're going to join another bank. So what did you have to do? You had to go down, you had to meet the bank manager or whoever it was, you had to fill out forms, and you had to go through all that. It was a headache, verify everything, it took so long, right? So the reason that a lot of traditional banks did so well holding on to their customers was that it was such a headache to open up a new bank account, right? Yeah. And it just so happens today, like it's not Monzo, so don't worry. I was with another online bank, and I paid for something, and it didn't. It was actually the pizzas here, right?
True story.
Yeah, true story. It's a true story, right? It didn't go through. Right, but they took the money out of the account. And he goes, no, declined, right? But my initial thought was, here, I'm leaving, not tomorrow, I'm leaving now, and I'm going to open up another account. Yeah. I know it's not going to be set up tonight, right? But it's so easy. So if banks are going to make small mistakes, and it being so easy to open up a bank account, do you think that will cause problems that you could lose customers?
I mean, hopefully, I guess the lesson is like try to minimize mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So that the big banks are making mistakes left, right, and centre, and hopefully if we can keep our service, and we have had problems in the past, but if we can keep our service steady and we can increase trust and reliability, make the product truly differentiated, we're just going to pick up customers. I mean, business banking, I think, is totally messed up, and that's not an area we're doing yet, and we'll see if we do or not, but I mean, when we were starting Monzo, we had to go to a bank and open a business bank account, and you sort of meet the branch manager, and they're like,
for Monzo.
For Monzo. And it's like, what is your business? Like, we're starting a bank.
Yeah. What do you need us for?
The bank manager's like, no, we're the bank. What are you? And we're like, we're a bank. We're a bank. We need a bank account to start the bank.
We're going to close you down in a couple of years.
And that was very difficult.
When they're minimizing mistakes, I imagine, like working in financial markets, like the banks that we were servicing. The legacy infrastructure they had was just incredibly complicated and very difficult. And I imagine it's the same in your industry as well, right? So
horrendous.
Having a bank which is built in the last few years in this technology stack is probably actually a great advantage to minimize those mistakes, right?
Yeah, and retail banking especially is not fundamentally like a complex problem, actually. It's credits and debits. So credits are money in, your salary, your mate sends you some cash. Debits are you spend some money on your card and hopefully it works, or you pay a direct debit or your rent. And it's credits and debits that sum up to a balance, and please add it up correctly. And the complication comes with compliance and regulation and security, which are complex in themselves, but the core bit is credits and debits that sum to a balance. Fundamentally, it's not rocket science. And if you approach that problem today with 21st century technology, it becomes much simpler.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, go on.
Can we chat a bit about, obviously we talked about mega success on both parts, but Nish, when you exited the company and you wanted to go off and do something else, you had a bit of a gap between that company and doing something else, and then you launched BeachFix, which since hasn't worked out maybe like you thought you would have. Can you chat a bit about BeachFix and your dream for it and where it may have went wrong?
Sure. I mean, so I made a lot of mistakes with BeachFix, but I don't regret doing it at all.
What is BeachFix?
So BeachFix was like, so when people are looking for a holiday, it's a fairly well-known problem, right? Like you have to go around, you have to open up 30 tabs, you have to scour around and Google around a lot, right? And there's a lot of research involved. And my frustration was that Booking.com and the likes of Expedia, etc. The first question they ask you is, where do you want to go? They don't actually really help you answer that question. And so my thought was, I'm going to help you answer that question, right? And in fact, you would go to my site, you cannot even tell me where you want to go. What you're going to be able to tell me is like what your budget is, how long you're willing to fly for, when do you want to go, what kind of temperatures do you like, what kind of things do you care about? Like, do you want it to be family friendly? Do you want really clear water? Do you want warm water when you go swimming? Do you want nightlife? Do you want to go diving? So you tell me all these things, right? And I mean, actually, like one of the biggest challenges was like, actually people would be saying, where can I go in March where it's warm, but I don't have to travel too far, right? Yeah. And so you would just fit the right parameters and I would tell you the results, which is great. I mean, people loved it, right? And then they go off and book it elsewhere.
You do all the donkey work and then they're gone, right?
Exactly.
So that's obviously the lesson you learned, right? When did you get involved with that company?
Beach Fix?
Yeah.
I mean, I started it so I learned to code to build the first version, right? So you could say I started it in January 2015, but really my first hire was in September that year, right? So I built a prototype and I used it as a way to kind of talk to people and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, what do you think? And also like help demonstrate to people what it is so that when I'm recruiting as well, people could understand it a little bit, right? And then I shut it down about 2 years after that.
Can I ask with that, right? Because sometimes when you obviously sold out and you did well out of Markit, right? And you set something else up. And a lot of people will always kind of think there's a little bit of naivety here that someone thinks that they did well here and now all of a sudden they're going to do well over here with something else. No, I'm not saying anything here, right? But the only reason I'm asking this is because you obviously had money behind you, right, to invest in it. Well, I'm taking it you did. It just kind of goes to prove that money doesn't always, because a lot of people go, oh, would you not have just thrown more money at it to kind of make it work?
You know what, I mean, so yeah, I could have thrown more money at it, but I think my goal, and I think I was lucky, I mean, I managed to get out there and speak to a lot of good people who had experience in this space, and they told me, this is the major challenge you're going to have. And so throughout all that time, I was focused on trying to make sure that I could address and answer the question of whether I could actually overcome this challenge. And when it became apparent that I couldn't, that was it. I don't think, I mean, I could have thrown more money at it. Maybe someone who goes and throws a shitload of money, like a ridiculous amount, who's willing to just lose like maybe 100 million to put into this, right? But actually, I mean, you even look at TripAdvisor, right? So there's two things which also made me see the writing on the wall. One is Google. So we were relying on a little bit on SEO, right? And you know, one of the great things I thought at the early days was SEO for beaches was really easy. Like, you know, just having the site up there, we were in the first page on Google without having done any SEO work for a lot of our beaches because this is not very competitive. But then Google started introducing results for themselves. So you Google, say, Nissi Beach, which is in Cyprus, right? And Google is going to show their first result. Just like, you know, with shopping and all that, they were doing that, and that was making it difficult. And then also I could see that discovery is becoming, like, you look at TripAdvisor, they were also, so their market valuation has gone like down like 60%, 70% in the last 2 years because their whole business model of advertising is gone and they've also had to switch to booking and they've also struggled, right? So when TripAdvisor is struggling, right, with that, right, you know that there is, it's a competitive place, right? So,
You've got a couple of startups that you're involved in. Jealous Suites being one. You know, it's an interesting story behind that one actually because they set it up because they wanted to make people in the office where they were working jealous.
Well, maybe a little bit, yes.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
You know, when did you get involved with them?
So the two founders, I knew them a little bit beforehand. One of them was from my university. So when I left Markit, he looked at me and he thought, well, this guy's probably got a bit of money, so let's see if I can get him to invest. And just at the time, they got into Selfridges, and you know, we'd known each other for like 13, 14 years at the point. And I could see, I mean, like I was looking at, when you look at the food market, there's definitely a trend towards people being willing to pay more for better products. Right. And this is exactly the thesis behind Jealous Sweets. It's like we've got, I mean, I could bore you with it. It's like vegan, gluten-free, but principally they taste better as well, right? We think they taste really good, and it's shown by the clients we've got.
Tom, you have also been involved in other companies outside of Monzo, right? Take us back to GoCardless. That was the first company that you were in, is that right?
I did a couple earlier, so I started one at university called, I'm bad at naming, Bozo, Buy or Sell Online, which I started with a couple of friends that went on to Y Combinator in 2006 or 7. and I built websites as a teenager. But yeah, GoCardless was the first real one. I left Bozo before it had raised, I ran it for 2 or 3 years, but before it had raised VC funding, I stepped back. GoCardless I started with 2 guys I was at university with, and went on to Y Combinator in 2010 or 11. And then that company's raised 60 odd million from people like Axel and Boulderton and Notion and Passion Capital. So that was a huge learning experience. That was the first, I guess, the first real startup where we had actual. I left Bozo before we paid salaries. Let's put it that way. Okay. So GoCardless was a real company, and it was an amazing kind of formative experience for me. Yeah.
Have you left completely, or are you still involved?
Yeah. I own stock, and I'm invited to their office warming party, so I was there last week. But I'm not involved day to day anymore. I mean, they have a great team running it.
Can you tell us, you spoke briefly in an article before about the impact Y Combinator had on you personally as a founder. Can you chat a bit about that?
Yeah, it's genuinely life-changing, and I don't say that lightly, but also incredibly frustrating at the time, because so we'd read Paul Graham's articles, and they're online. They're paulgraham.com/essays or something. And if you've not already, please go and read them. They are spectacular. So we'd heard of this guy, and we went on to Y Combinator expecting like real help, expecting someone to kind of step into our business and fix parts of it. And it was still small at the time. And the thing that was weird about Y Combinator was that they have a kind of prescriptive formula. They bring you in, they do dinners every Tuesday, 3-month batch, and then you pitch on demo day to literally the best VCs in the world. But the thing that was surprising and annoying was that they just wouldn't give you advice. Okay. They're like here are some heuristics. Here's like rules that have worked in the past. We're like, yeah, but specifically how should I fix my business? And they're like, well, write code and talk to users. I'm like, well, okay, we're doing that. And like, well, aim for 10% growth week over week. I'm like, oh, we're not getting that. And like, okay, well, your product's clearly wrong. And they're like, great, how's it wrong? And they're like, we no idea. Go away and figure it out. Like that's your job. And that, at the time, we were kind of like.
Is that a good thing though? The fact that you're not being babied in a way.
Yeah, I think it is in retrospect, it's a great thing, because we don't know your business any better than you do. And I think a lot of European accelerators in particular put you through this like mentorship program where they put in so-called experts to come and like teach you how your business works. And they've got no fucking idea either. Yeah. That's really dangerous. Whereas Y Combinator, like, we don't know, like, you got to figure it out. And if you don't, like, whatever, we've got 60 companies in our batch, so some will make it.
That's okay.
And those mantras or heuristics have turned out just to be so valuable. Like, actually, yeah, write code, launch your product really, really early, talk to your users, figure out if they like it. If they don't like it, fix the product, relaunch it, and like iterate on that. And they just have so many of these kind of sets of rules that just empirically work really well for launching successful companies.
Sorry, I was going to say, what year was that?
2010, I think.
2010. You actually met some interesting characters while you were there, did you?
Oh yeah. So I mean, on our batch, we met an amazing. Every Tuesday, they bring in someone really world famous. Like Mark Zuckerberg came and told us about how he started Facebook, a kind of off the record discussion. And
in front of how many people?
100 or so. So it's more it wasn't like
not far off this.
It's kind of like this where they'd give an off the record talk about what went wrong.
This is completely off the record.
Ignore the cameras. And on our batch there were people like Rap Genius, who were kind of the stars at the time. We raised money for Andreessen Horowitz. Yeah. A good friend of mine was running Firebase, sold to Google for several hundred million. Like, they've done well. I mean, previous batches, I think Stripe were sort of informally between batches. Obviously, Airbnb, Dropbox. I mean, a ton of really successful companies.
Can I ask you something? How sick are you of being asked about Starling Bank?
I'm not
even going to bother asking.
I don't get asked so much anymore, actually. I think they've got a great product.
Yeah. That it?
Just throw his card away as well.
Right, back to Nish, right? What is the main difference between Markit Nish and now Nish?
Counselling session.
Do you know what? Like, so
lay back on the couch.
When things are going well, right? It's great. Right? Yeah. You're enjoying it and you're learning a lot. But at the same time, what you aren't doing is really starting to think about what are you doing wrong.
Yeah.
What could you be better at, right? You think about that a little bit, right? But with Beach Fix, there's quite a bit of like afterwards, a bit of reflection, and I mean like right now, so I'm thinking about what am I going to do next, right? And where do I want to go? And the biggest question is like, what do I want to do, right? And it's clear actually, like you can see the feeling in me. I can feel the feeling in me between what I want to do and what I don't particularly care about, right?
Okay.
And you can just something just captures you and you obsess over it. And but generally, I mean, it's like I've now known success and failure, right? So it's
which is nicer.
What happened after you left Markit? You just like chill out, go to a beach for like.
Yeah. Do you know what I started? Beach Fix.
So I mean, like after leaving Markit, it was I knew I wanted to start something again.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And
is it fair to say you could have retired for life after Markit?
Depends on what kind of lifestyle you want. Right.
Well, okay.
So
well, a modest lifestyle.
I would say, yeah, with a modest lifestyle, maybe yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But also depends on how your investments go as well, right? Like,
yeah, of course.
You want to live off that, right? So, I'm 40. I just turned 40 recently, and
we look great for 40.
Thanks.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that.
Oh, you look great. We all look great. Yeah. But I mean, honestly, I think failure is something which is hard to go through. It can definitely be something that bruises you. But what it's helped me do, I think, is definitely be open to understanding that I don't have all the answers, right? I never will have all the answers. I mean, Tom's going through this right now. He knows that he's got to steer a ship, but there's lots of other people who actually have the answers for you, right? And you've got to be able to find the people you can trust, and also be open. When you're a leader, it's actually surprising how much people are judging you, right? Like everyone underneath you is judging you, right? Especially, and I'm the kind of person who wants to hear what the people beneath me are thinking, right? And I had this at Beach Fix, got this at Jealous, and at the other companies. I mean, I'm also open, like where I'm doing advisory, I'd be happy to ask, so what is it, I could be doing better for you, right? And they've always got thoughts as well and opinions, right? And suddenly, he's got 320 people at his company. I had a ton of people underneath me at Markit, and they're all have an opinion on how your job is, right? And you know what? It's sometimes it's harder than you expect, right?
What's a typical day for you now?
Right now?
Yeah.
So I'm imagining like a massage.
Yeah.
Big time.
I have to go in behind the curtain tonight.
No. So I've realised. Look, I'm kind of geeky. I love numbers. I did a mechanical engineering degree, right? And I did a fair amount of that stuff, in the early days at Markit, although I was moved much from the business side. I want to get and become much more involved in what's happening in artificial intelligence, right? I think it's the kind of thing which my head is suited for, and I want to find a way to be a bridge between AI and business, right? Although when I look at a company and like say DeepMind, you look at their job listing, it's like 30 machine learning engineers and not a single business person. So maybe that's not the way to go, right? But I've got a few ideas of what I might do with that around in the space. I mean, I think, who knows? Like maybe in 3 years, it's all hype like that, right? I've been looking at blockchain as well recently. I've become quite skeptical of it actually over the last couple of months, reading around and looking at it. So I mean, reading around and meeting people.
Or it's going to be Terminator.
Sorry?
It's either going to die or Terminator.
But you should get more massages.
A robot or something.
Robot massage. I could have programmed that, right? That'd be great, right?
Urban massage. They'll come to your home, sit on the bed, everything.
Perfect. That's brilliant.
I've got a discount. I'll give you later.
I've used that once, and they couldn't find my apartment, and they were 40 minutes late.
That's just stressful.
Exactly. Yeah, by the time they turned up.
Me too, massages.
Tom, I want to know what a typical day for you is, right? Because we know...
Urban massage department.
Yeah, well, are you going through massages? What's a typical day for you? Because everyone knows Monzo, everyone knows how busy you are, how fast you're growing. When we met you ourselves, you were busy. So, what is a typical day? What time do you get up? What time do you go to bed? Do you go to bed?
I don't like mornings that much, so I start work relatively late. There is no, this is a cliche, I guess. I'll get into the office about 10 normally.
Just so we all know, what do you consider mornings?
I've started going to the gym a lot more. So my one kind of indulgence is not, I'd like to get more massages, but my one indulgence is personal trainer. Okay. And that really, really makes my day better. So this morning it was a leg day.
Okay.
You're walking funny when you come.
Yeah. Are we sitting down on the show? Yeah, we are.
Yeah, just like kind of taking care of my fitness a little bit, and just having gone to the gym makes me feel better for the rest of the day, and actually like makes me more, just puts a smile on my face. And
we touched on that during the week, that it's not easy running a business, and running a business that of the size of Monzo. It can't be easy. We did a show on what people can do around helping, and the gym was probably was the main thing that we said.
Really helped me.
I find exercise just makes my mind sharper, right?
Yeah.
Like my thought process is just like it turns me from foggy to clear.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You actually mentioned something on an interview, not with us, but with another company months ago, right? Where you were saying that when you were working for these guys or working with these guys, a phone call came in on a Friday evening. Right, and so, Nish is going to look after this. Sure, he doesn't have a life anyway, so he'll take care of this one, right? So, like, we all go through that, right? We all work hard. We all put a lot of effort, and Tom and you as well. Like, there has to be a way around that because it's so important. And again, Graham said we touched on this during the week how important even going for a walk is, how important going to the gym is. You know, Pilates, yoga, something. Like, were you doing anything when you were going through all that, or are you only realizing this now? And same with you, Tom.
There was some sense of balance, right? I mean, I remember towards the end of the first year, right? And so we were all figuring out what the comp was going to look like, right? In terms of, luckily, 12 months in, we had enough revenue. We could pay bonuses, right?
12 months in?
Yes, 12 months in, right, yes. Yeah.
So that's where all the massages came from?
Yeah, well, yeah. No, unfortunately not. None in those days, right? Yeah. And you know what? I mean, I sat down with Lance, and he said, "Okay, this is what I think you're going to kind of get, right?" And I was like, "So what is it I need to do to get extra, right? To get more than that, right?" And he goes, and I said, "Do I need to work more weekends, right?" And he goes, "No." He just went straight away, "No." And he says, "No, you need to have a work-life balance, right?"
Okay.
So there was definitely some sense of balance. I think actually you need to get away from the office at times, and I find this in just. Like sometimes you get caught up in what you're doing and what you're trying to solve at any one time. And some of my best thinking happens when I'm out and away from the environment I'm in, right? And
you need a breather.
Yeah, exactly, right. It doesn't mean I go away and I stop thinking about it. I mean, like you'll still be thinking about it.
Just work from the beach.
But yeah, exactly. You work from the beach, but what you're not doing is that you're not actually in that moment trying to do something, right? And what you're doing is you're letting your brain just freely think, right? Whatever, and you got problems in your head, you got thoughts in your head, things that you need to solve, and you find yourself in a position where your brain just thinks freely, and what it allows it to do is come up with solutions to problems versus looking at your tasks and thinking, okay, I got to get this done, got to get this done, got to get this done, right? Which is just totally different dynamic in terms of thinking, and I think it's really important.
So, just out of curiosity, since I'm not going to say you're retired now because you're far from it, right? What advice would you give Tom, right? Because Tom's obviously going through
more massages.
Is it more massages? Like because obviously if you could turn back to old Nish, young Nish, younger Nish, right? Younger Nish. We're on the same boat. Don't worry. What advice would you give yourself, and what advice would you give Tom and everyone else here?
I think he's doing some of it already. Like he goes to the gym, right? I think definitely looking after your physical and mental health is really important. I think I actually walk away and I look back at my time at Markit, and I don't feel necessarily that I actually exploited what I could have, like in terms of my abilities and my potential in the way I could have. Right? Definitely. Actually, when I left Markit, I felt like I was quite
worked
out. My head was in a way like I felt very much like, do you know what? I knew I could have done a lot more, right? And I know a lot of that was because my head wasn't necessarily, should we say, I wasn't self-aware about sort of the habits that held me back.
Yeah.
So I definitely think, I mean, like, he's doing that with physical, but mental health as well. I mean, like now I I remember literally today, there was a moment when I was getting really stressed out about a few things, right? And
today?
Yes, today. Right?
Yeah, okay.
So,
Course,
and I was thinking, you know, so I mean, I'm trying to think about what I do next, right? And sometimes it's easy to actually really get caught up in the scale of the work that is ahead of you, right? Like you think, oh God, I've got so much to do, right? And you think, oh shit, how am I going to do this, this, and this, and this? And you've got like 20 different things you're juggling in your head, right? And literally, I just stopped for a minute and I meditated for 10 minutes, right? Yeah. Okay, I stopped for 10 minutes. Meditate for 10 minutes, and I came out of that. Two solutions came in my head while I did that, right? To some of the things I've been wrestling with. Yeah. And then I came out of it and I just felt like ready to go again, right?
We mentioned that Calm.
I use that.
It's really handy.
Is that what you did?
Today I use Calm, although I have to be honest, right? Today I wasn't listening to the voice.
Are they a sponsor here, by the way?
There's a guided meditation, but sometimes also actually some of the best meditations I've ever had is when I sit there and I just,
massage.
Chill out.
And I let myself.
I'm trying to relax here. Yeah. Stop. You know.
But you know, like sometimes they say, like meditation, you should be focused on your breathing and all that, and don't try and think. Actually, sometimes I get myself, as long as once you get into a relaxed zone, and your brain just starts wearing away, and you actually just let it wear, right? And it will just, the problems that you have in your life, the things that you need to solve, they come to the surface, right? And solutions also come to it.
Yeah,
so.
More meditation.
More meditation.
Yeah.
I'm just out of curiosity, who in the crowd, is there any FinTech founders or anyone involved in FinTech in the crowd?
There's a hand over there.
Somebody?
There's a hand over there.
So can you come up on stage? Is that all right? You up on stage? Can we get a microphone? Is that all right? This is a bit of a surprise. But it's a surprise for everyone because Tom and Nish, we're going to put you in a little bit of a FinTech pop quiz.
We're going to get to sit in the middle. Sorry, what's your name?
Adam.
Mark, how are you?
Graham, nice to meet you. How are you?
We have another mic here, do we? Okay, brilliant.
First time.
We've got a what would we say?
This was planned 43 seconds before we started the show, so bear with us.
So we've got a quick fire round that we're going to go. It's more kind of. Sorry, what's your name again? Adam and Tom, right? So what we're going to do is a quick fire round on
FinTech. Yeah.
I've had two.
Yeah, Tom's like, don't do it.
They got beer backstage as well.
Yeah, he had a few upstairs. Don't worry. You're under no pressure. He's under loads of pressure.
All right, we good to go?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get a round of applause? Round of applause, everybody!
Okay. Basically, what we're going to do here is, right, Graham's going to shout out some questions.
Right.
And both of you just need to shout out an answer. Right?
All three of us?
No, well, Nish can help. Nish isn't helping you. Okay, you know, you're on your own here.
Shout out.
Yeah. So just shout out the answer. If you think you know the answer, hopefully you do.
All right. What colour is Tide Bank's card?
White.
Not a bank, technically.
I've got it in my
What? Give me a dick.
All right.
Yeah, that's not a card. I'm good friends with George. Is it white? Is it black? I don't know.
It's blue.
Just give us
blue. It's blue, all right.
Okay. Sorry, I've got the idea.
How much money did Revolut just raise?
$250 million.
Yes.
Is it? Not 240?
250? You think 250?
Okay. It's 1.7 billion valuation.
Bonus point.
Stop showing off.
Well, yeah. What month does London Tech Week take place?
Second week of June.
Oh, spot on. I didn't even want the second week. Brilliant.
Tom.
It's called business run. Yeah. Where in Europe will Money 2020 be held this year?
Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Boom.
He's on it.
Sorry,
on the conference circuit, this guy.
Where do you work?
Form 3.
Yo!
A bit of publicity there, go.
What is the name of the Adam Bank CEO?
Mark Mullen.
Mark Mullen.
Oh.
Name 5 challenger banks.
Quick, go.
Baltimore, Shawbrook, Oak North, Paragon, Charter Court.
Oh, okay.
He's going to take your word on those.
That's his mark.
Yeah,
you
should
can't
have
be
said UK.
Yeah. What bank did Tandem famously acquire?
Harrods.
Harrods Bank. Name 3 cryptocurrencies.
Blockchain, Ethereum,
Ripple. Ethereum,
Litecoin, Bitcoin.
Neo.
Done. Could be here all night.
Blah, 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 blah.
What was the UK's first challenger bank?
Metro.
Egg.
Ooh.
We didn't even know the answer to that. We just put that in. I didn't know who it is.
You're both right.
If you go back 100 years, Barclays. 200 years.
Oh, there we go. And last question, who do you bank with?
Monzo.
I've got like 20.
You've got how many?
I've got like 20 different ones.
Well, there we go.
What about your app
Is Monzo one of them?
Yeah,
Monzo's one of them. Yay! Thank you so much. Really
We're going to put
appreciate
it down that you actually beat Tom. You beat Tom.
Yeah.
Guys, we would like to thank everyone for coming tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Also, we'd like to thank Nish for coming along. Thank you, Nish. Also, we'd like to thank Tom for coming along. Thank you so much, Tom. And Adam. Monzo's new employee. Thank you so much for coming along. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors as well. Jobio, Smith & Williamson, Oracle NetSuite. Thank you so much, guys. Guys, make sure to tune in to our next show. Our next show is coming up in a month's time, and it's going to be in Manchester.
Live from Manchester. Make sure you tune in, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you so much.